Hi everyone and welcome back to Dobby Books. And today I'm going to cover some book tags that I've seen on BookTubes that I thought some were really adorable and some were really thought-provoking. And this one I picked today comes from BookTuber Micah Cummins. I'll put his link below so you can see. I find him, he's a new BookTuber, and I have found all of his posts just very personable, like he's talking to me from his library. And I think, I'm an old lady, so I can say, I think he's adorable. So I'm taking these tags from his booktube. And here's one of the questions. Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a normal person and 10 being the late Harold Bloom, how much are books and reading a part of your life? Oh boy. I've got books on my nightstand, I've got books downstairs, I've got books, of course, in my library. I have my Kindle, and I think I own at this point 5 Kindles that I've purchased over the years. I cannot not read. Before we had Kindles, e-readers, or phones for that matter, where we could keep ourselves busy while waiting in line or doing whatever, I always had a book with me. It would be in my purse, it would be in my car. I would have a pamphlet, anything in my purse. Because if I was going to be waiting somewhere, I had to read. I just could not read. So I discovered books when I was in 3rd grade. I'd been learning to read up until that time. I loved going to the bookmobile every Thursday. It would park in the parking lot, and I just had a blast. And I remember not being able to read a lot of the words because many of the books were above my reading level, but I loved being around them. I loved exploring, and sometimes I'd come home with a book and I had no idea what I came home with, but I just loved the fact I came home with a book and I would flip through it and take what I could from it. And there was a classmate of mine by the name of Tessa, and she used to hide a book on her lap during class and be reading it during class. She was absolutely a book fanatic. She just couldn't get away from books either. And I remember watching her in class doing this, watching this obsession with books and thinking, I want to get as much out of a book as she does. I want to have that love or whatever it was that drew her to books. I wanted to discover what she discovered in books. And ever since then, I've been completely incurable and quite happy. Second one, so on a scale of 1 to 10, 9 or 10, maybe everyone else would put me down as a 10, but I'll say 9 or 10. Okay, and where does your personal library stand right now in relation to the rest of your life? Do you have more books now than you ever have? Fewer? How has your library changed? In my earlier years, although I've always owned books, there wasn't a lot of money. So I had to be very choosy when I decided on a book. I would get secondhand books whenever I could. The library was my dearest friend. I didn't really get books as gifts. You would think, knowing Denise being the bookworm that she is, that family and friends would know to purchase books for me or gift cards or something. Very rarely. So there wasn't a whole lot of money for books. After my kids grew up, it was just me to worry about. I had more money than I could give, that I could dedicate to books, and my library really started to grow at that time, so that now I can be very focused, very active on building up specifics in my library. For instance, my chronological collection of books, starting with ancient history and then working my way forward. That's been a very enjoyable personal project of mine, which is when I do my other videos, I'm working my way through history now in Roman history, and I'm sharing with you the books that I'm working on or going to be working on, and the juvenile literature editions of the same type of reading, so that not only those of us who are reading the standard, grown-up works of history, but kids can learn about it too, or those of us who really don't want to tackle the grown-up version, but just want to read something that's a little more simplified to get a general idea, we can do that as well. So that's a personal project of mine that I'm very passionate about. I'm also building up my collection of children's literature. graphic novels is something I've recently discovered. I have more freedom now to explore, to branch out. So yeah, it's changed a lot in my life. So I would definitely say that I have more books now than I've ever had in my life. And number 3, take a mental step back and ask yourself, what is the most likely first bookish impression a newcomer would have in your home? If they were downstairs, they wouldn't notice anything. I don't have a lot of books downstairs, not yet. I've only just moved here a few months ago, and I'm kind of turfy when it comes to my books. I'm very protective of them. I keep them in a separate room with the shades drawn because I don't want the sun to fade them. So most of my books are upstairs. But if someone walked into my home and we were talking for a while, the subject of books would come up. I'd say, oh, there's a book about such and such, from so-and-so, and that's a really great bit of information for you, or what have you. Like that would come up. So I don't think they get the impression of me being a bookish person if they walked in my house. If they went upstairs and saw the library, yes, they would. They definitely would get that impression. As a matter of fact, my cousin came 2 or 3 weeks ago, and this is the first time he's come to my new house. And I gave him a tour, and I brought him into the library, and I explained all my shelves and what they were and whatever. And he was just kind of blown away. He's like, wow, I never realized you had so much. And this is just such a beautiful, beautiful collection that you. And he was just very impressed, and he said such kind things to me. So that's the closest I can come to someone making a comment based on my books, but I had to actually bring them to the books. All right, next question. How often, if ever, do you clean or reorganize your books? A lot. Yesterday I dusted the shelves. I'm always trying to rethink how I'm going to organize my books, with the exception of the chronological books for history. They're chronological, period. That's just the only way it can be, because they're chronological. When it comes to, for example, my Penguin Classics Deluxe editions, those are beautiful books. And I have them mixed in among my chronological books, my children's literature. Those are the ones that I keep thinking and rethinking, should I just separate all my children's classics deluxe and just put them on one shelf and just sit there and, adore my little collection? I don't know. I may do that, and I'll do that. And then, maybe sometime later say, nah, I'm going to put them back the way they were before. But that's the fun of having owning books. You can do what you want. You can organize them by genre, by color, chronology, etc. There's a lot of flexibility in that. But yeah, I think about it a lot, and I'm always touching up and reorganizing and trying to figure out where I can fit just one more shelf. All right. On average, how many books do you acquire in a given week? I haven't averaged that out, but let me show you what I got yesterday. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I ended up getting another book by Katie DiCamillo because I like her writing because of Winn-Dixie, but we know that story. I got another book by Neil Gaiman because he's just an awesome author, The Graveyard Book. I got The Door in the Wall. I knew of that book. They're all Newbery Award winners. I try to collect all the Newbery Awards to add to my Newbery Award shelf. And Doll Bones, that's another one that I got yesterday. I've been wanting to read that for a while. And here's another Newbery book. I hadn't heard of this one before, but I'm intrigued. It's like a ghostly paranormal type thing. It's called Too Bright to See, about a girl who's a sensitive, and she's always, for her it was normal to have other presences in her life because they lived in an old house. But recently she sensed a new presence. And that just got me. It's like, ooh, I gotta get it. My mom, as a matter of fact, growing up, her family always lived in old homes, and there were always stories of presences in the house. And my mother, her older sister, and 2 of her older sisters and my mother were sensitives, as well as their mother, my grandmother. So they all had experiences growing up in the various old homes they had lived in. So when I saw this story, Too Bright to See, I immediately thought of my mom and her life, and therefore in my own life, you know, they say this is passed on like eye color or freckles or whatever. I have had experiences. My brother is extremely sensitive, but he tends to push it away. And my sister's not as sensitive. So for me, it was also normal to sense a presence because that was just normal. And the one book I got, I've been debating because it's really kind of dark, but there's something about it. It's like, this is like a special book. I really should get this. There's something about it that makes it special, and I don't know what, but I got it. Hold on. From Hell, graphic novel. This is not for kids. Don't even go there. This is for us grown-up people, okay? It's along the lines of Jack the Ripper, and it's very graphic. Fascinating how it talks about the investigation, and I haven't even touched on it enough, but I've gone through enough of it that I know that I couldn't stop thinking about this book, and I finally just took the plunge and got it. So this week I got 6 books. So let's say I average between 3 and 6 books weekly. Okay, let's say 3 weekly, and other weeks it's more. All right. What song is your current earworm? I had one a while back that was driving me nuts, and now I don't even know what it was. I don't know. I haven't had any song earworms for a while now, which is a great relief. If I remember it, I'll tell you, though. Number 7, what percentage of your self-control do you retain in a well-stocked bookshop? Okay, there is some self-control there. But, maybe I'm being hard on myself. I always keep thinking, oh gosh, niece, you really don't have to get so many. You got to tone it down. Be responsible. I don't know if any of you BookTubers go through the same internal crisis, but I do. I don't know. If I had $200 in my wallet and I paid cash for $200 worth of books, would I feel better? I don't know. And I tell myself, no. I mean, it hurts more when you spend cash. That's true. That's why we like to use our debit card or our credit card or whatever. But it's still $200. Would I feel better paying cash as opposed to using my debit card? I would probably still feel guilty. Glad that I have that means to do that now in my life. I think I waited long enough. But yeah, I always think I could practice a little more self-control. Let's see. Number 8, do you ever feel the need to take a break from books? And if so, what form does it take? When I'm out of cash, I have to take a break. I know a few years back, there was less money. I mean, it was just me, but there was less money. So what I would do is I go every Saturday to my local library because they would have their book sale in their basement. They really had some beautiful, beautiful books there, very well cared for, as well as others not so well cared for. But I was still able to add my book collection, especially my chronological book collection, pay only 25 cents a book. And it didn't matter, if it was this wonderful hardcover, it didn't matter. I paid 25 to 50 cents per book. I considered that a break. Other people may consider a break like not buying books at all. I've done that too, but it never lasts very long. I start getting the withdrawal symptoms, and I have to find some sort of book sale to go to. Yeah, so I've had breaks, but they're not necessarily cold turkey. I'm not buying any more book breaks. They're like, well, I'll pay less for books. So. All right, next one. When you meet a new person, how long does it take you to bring up books? I've never thought about that. I know it happens eventually. I don't know. Let me think about that while I go on to the next one. Number 10, have you given any thought or made any provisions for your personal library after you croak? Yes, and I keep thinking about that. Who's going to want my books? Number one, I know nobody is going to appreciate my books like I do. I think that's just a given for anybody who's a book lover. But I keep thinking that maybe when I get much older, as I sense the time approaching, that I will have to start letting some things go in my life, then I will approach my children, and they can choose which ones they want to take with them, not the book lover that I am. My daughter was. She was more of a book lover, but she's not here anymore, so I just have my sons. I know one in particular is not much of a reader at all, so maybe he'll bring something with him. I'm not sure what. And then I guess I'm just kind of keeping my ears and eyes open to find people in my life now and moving forward who I sense are book lovers, who appreciate books and take care of books. Perhaps if I'm still in contact with them, I can later tell them, look, come and take what you like, etc. And I'll know that that's as it should be. I'd rather that happen than when, after my funeral, they have some estate sale and strangers come and take the books who love books. That's okay. But I also have seen enough in my life that when you have family members who really don't understand books, don't appreciate the beauty and wonder of books, they end up, that would be painful. That would be painful. I'd rather have book lovers come in and take what they like and treasure them than the opposite. So it's a work in progress. Last one. Are you known among your friends and loved ones for your weird and probably unhealthy relationship with books? Yes. My mother is a clothes lover. She was a seamstress in her youth. She could walk past, a window with clothing or go into a store. And I remember as a child watching her, looking at the clothes. She examine the seams. She would tell us things like, see how this is, see the stitching here. This is a quality garment. She would see the inner lining or lack of lining. She would alert us to that sort of thing. This is a quality garment. This is not. She loved clothes. And the painful thing for her has been losing the vast majority of the clothes that she collected over the years, because now she lives with me and I'm looking after her. She had 4 closets full of clothes. And when I moved in several years ago, when I came back from living back east for many years, and I took the smaller room in the house and the smallest closet in the house, which she had clothes in, Mom, you got to move your clothes. I need to put my clothes in here. And she worried that I wouldn't have enough room. I have plenty of room. I enjoy good clothes, but I don't like having a lot of clothes. For me, it's just more to think about. My mother would say throughout my life growing up, and she'd see me spend money on yet another book, why don't you spend your money on something worthwhile, like clothes? She just couldn't understand that. And other people whom I've worked with, etc., have also commented, over time they got to know that I was into books. And they would say, wow, Denise, you're really a bookaholic, aren't you? Yeah. They really started to I'm sure they kind of wondered, like, wow, there's more to life than this. And, my siblings, they know that I'm a crazy book lover, and I'm sure that they quietly wonder, maybe she should, dedicate some funds to, I don't know, a garden, something different, but that's just the way it is. Every person is different. Yeah, I know I'm a weirdo to them, but that's the joy of being a bookaholic, and we don't care. I mean, who cares? Everyone is different, and everyone is beautiful, so it doesn't bother me. So, that's it. That's the book tag, and I had a lot of fun going through this. If you guys have any other questions, go for it. I love answering questions. If you liked what you saw today, please press the like button. Please press the subscribe button. I love having you here. I feel like I'm talking with friends, and it's a pleasure for me. So everybody have an awesome weekend.